Hey family, this is Dr. William Clark here. Glad to be with you all for another installment here. This is Co-Work with Me, and we are in this space where we're building businesses and building organizations that can sustain and have the impact that we desire. I want to talk a little bit about team delegation and freedom. That's our topic today, team delegation and freedom. If you have not done so already, I want to encourage you to like, subscribe, and share this video, any of our videos that has helped you and benefited you over the years. We believe that we are in this business of helping each other grow, building a community of growth, building a community led by entrepreneurs, led by creators, individuals who are serving the greater good. And if you know anything about me, you also know that we believe that nonprofits fall in that category too, that you too, those of you who are leading nonprofit organizations, you're entrepreneurs, you're doing great work. A lot of it is soul work, a lot of it is humanity work, but it's great work. And nonetheless, you are a part of this as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about team delegation and freedom. How do we achieve it? How do we get there, etc.? And so let me just talk, at least initiate this conversation, talking about, or at least leading off, discussing how do we get the team delegation and freedom. At the end of the day, for me, at least as it relates to this conversation, it is going to begin and end with how to get things done. Us having that conversation, us exploring what that looks like, how that works, etc. So if you're trying to understand the power of team delegation and then ultimately freedom, you got to begin the conversation with how to get things done. Now, as an entrepreneur, as a leader, as someone who is in a position of influence, or someone who's making decisions, or someone who is looked to as the final say of a decision, you got to constantly think about how to get things done. So what does that look like? What encompasses getting things done? Number one, as a leader, you got to be focused on your imagination, your creativity. I have increasingly become aware and connected to the fact that I and others like me, you who are watching this video, you are a creative. Now, you may say I'm not in the arts, I don't play an instrument, or I'm not considered a creative type because of what I do, but here's the truth of the matter. The fact that you're leading a business, creating a business, scaling a business, you are a creator. You are someone who's artistic and, yes, scientific in what you do. There's a process to what you do. There's a how to what you do. But you are a creator. And what kind of constitutes that, and how do you get into that space of being a creator? Well, the fact that you are in the space where you have nothing, like literally there's nothing, there's nothing. You start a business and there's literally nothing except there's an idea that's lodged in your brain, an idea that's there, an idea that only you are aware of, the idea that only you can see on the projector screen of your mind. And the manifestation of that, once it is matured, it shows up, and you've all of a sudden created something. To go from that process of having an idea and it showing up and maturing and materializing is the creative process. You're a creator. And so when you're trying to get things done, it begins with the imagination that is going on in your mind. You got to be constantly in this space of imagining, ideating, thinking about what can be done. How can I solve a problem with the things that I know? How can I solve a problem with the people I know, with the people I'm connected to? How can I do all these things that can fill gaps? So it begins with your imagination. So once you start to imagine and you start to think about how you can get things done, then you got to start to move towards this idea of strategizing. How do I get this thing from here to there? How do I get out of my mind into the real world? How do I get it into production? How do I get it into this space where I can begin to create it and share it with somebody? So it requires strategy, requires you to think. Now, this is an interesting place, right? Because I'm going to say this multiple times, but I'm going to insert this idea of the persons who can help you get things done. I believe that you cannot strategize on your own. Now, if you're in the infancy stages of your business, you may feel like I'm in this by myself. It's just me. But the reality is, it's never just you. It doesn't have to be you. The fact that you're watching this video the fact that you're subscribed to this channel, the fact that you are connected to this content, is an indication that you believe that there is a partnership here. There's a connection here, that whatever I'm saying or sharing or teaching has relevance to you and it has relevance to what you're working on. So once you're in the strategy phase, remember, you've imagined the idea. Now you're trying to strategize it to bring it into fruition. That strategy process should likely be done in partnership with other people, people who are good at something that's contributing to the materialization of the idea here. And so you don't need to bring in somebody who knows everything, because that's not possible. There are people who know a lot about a lot of things, but they may not know everything about what you're trying to create. But that's the benefit of having key relationships in place, where because of the idea that you're creating, you're taking a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and a little bit of this, and a little bit of that. I'm going to need somebody in each of these domains who can help me strategize how to get from whatever's in my mind to this real world. That strategizing process takes time. As we teach on this channel, strategy is the slowest way to raise money, to make money, to generate to generate income for your business. But the reality is, it's hard to skip. You can't just go from idea to results that are meaningful and impactful. The strategy process is required, and it is a slow process. Well, why is it slow, Dr. Clark? It's slow because strategy does not necessarily mean we're going to sit down for a day and get the outcome we're looking for. In fact, strategy includes us taking time. Sometimes it's hours, days, weeks, months, and in some cases years, in other cases decades, to get to the result that we're looking for. Some ideas that are percolating today, some ideas that are highly successful today, are throwaway ideas from 2 decades ago, because there was a different focus 2 decades ago. But as the technology matured, as the ideas matured, as the concept matured, 2 decades later, what was a throwaway idea now is a working idea. Strategy is really, really slow, and some things that you think will be the it for the moment may end up being nothing for the moment, and the thing that you've ignored or minimalized may be the thing that is good for right now. So you're imagining, you're strategizing in a group environment, you're strategizing with key influencers that you believe who can help you. And in many cases, you may say, I still don't have that type of connection. Well, let me give you a concept here, right? You can look at other people who are doing similar things. This is why we created the co-work with me environment, where you can be around other people who are doing things that are innovative, creative, artistic, if you will, and learn from them, pick their brains from a little bit here, a little bit there, to get the results you're looking for. But the key of this conversation is for you to not be doing this by yourself. So we're going to be imagining, we're going to be strategizing. Then here's the thing you got to do after you strategize. You have to faithfully document. I'll say like this, as you're imagining and strategizing, you have to create a journal of what is going through your mind at this particular moment, in this particular season, with this particular idea, and so that you can kind of see how things are progressing. There's an idea that we are working on right now, and I started working on this. It's been this is an example of something that's been kind of in the recesses of my brain and slowly eking out. It wasn't the focus of our business. It wasn't the focus of how we generated revenue or served our customers. But I've decided, and based upon evidence that we've seen, this is probably a good time for us to release our idea. Well, it is not simply releasing, because at this point, it's not a mature product or service, right? And so once I made the decision that now's the time, I thought I was going to need about 6 to 9 months to kind of ramp up and kind of get to that space. Opportunity said, nope, now's the time. You got to move a little faster. And so as I was going through that process, identifying my comfort with moving much, much, much faster, one of the things I started doing was documenting, journaling my ideas about this particular product that we're developing. Because as we begin to engage the team and begin to identify who to work with, who to bring in for this and that, I needed to be clear as the visionary and creator what I'm seeing and documenting it. And I gotta tell you, if you look at my journal, it is a journal that is in successive order, progressive order, but it is a journal of confliction. It's a journal that says one day, well, we're gonna do this, and the next day it says, nah, we're gonna do this, and then the next day, well, I think we're gonna do some of this. Nope, we're gonna go back to the original idea. It's a bunch of ping-ponging back and forth. And here's the beauty of the journal. None of it gets deleted. None of it gets refined. None of it gets fixed. It's just a running book. It got to be close to 1,000 pages now. It's just continuous information, multiple tabs, multiple pages, multiple documents, multiple images, multiple concepts, all in this journal book, because I am coming up with ideas daily about this particular product. And as I have conversations with the team, and as I work on other things that spark an inspiration, it goes back to the first point we made about imagination. I'm documenting in the journal new ideas, new concepts. If I'm watching a YouTube video, if I'm watching something on TV, if I'm watching right now is the NBA playoffs, right? So I'm kind of plugged in. If I'm watching something that I'm seeing on the court, whether it's related to the game or related to the production of the game itself, or the pregame interviews, interviews during the game, interviews after the game, things that are inspiring me, I am documenting things that I am saying, oh, we can do a piece of this, a piece of that. That journal is designed to have all of your thoughts in there. Why are you doing this? One, when you start to share this information with your team and they begin to do their work to develop this thing so it can materialize, they have all of your counsel available. Here's a tidbit. When you put this stuff together, consider putting it in a notebook LM, put it in the GPT, put it into a gem or whatever AI platform you use, and share the folder so that people can just query your thoughts and always have your thoughts available. We've created several chatbots that are using our platform Impact Bud, and it allows folks just to query our thoughts and ideas made available so that they can understand what I'm thinking, when, why, and how. But you got to do that thing for yourself. When you're documenting, here's the other thing, and literally I just said this moments ago. In the recesses or in the depths of that journal will be other ideas that are not hot for the moment. They're just statements, they're just thoughts, they're just concepts that are just inserted on a piece of paper. It's one bullet out of thousands of pages, hundreds of pages, if you will. And one day, as you're going through this, as the product you've decided to launch matures and hits the market and begins to move, you'll look at that journal and you'll look at that little bullet there, and you will identify something that will become a new idea. The documentation process serves you for the right now. It serves you for the future. And in some cases, it could be serving you for the past, right? In terms of healing, processing through things that didn't go well, or understanding why things went a particular way, right? So all of this is important. So number one, imagine. Number two, strategize. Number three, document. Number four, we already said this before, but I told you we're going to say it again. You got to find the who's. You got to find somebody to partner with you. I mentioned in the strategy process, but I continue. You need to find who's to help you imagine. You need to find who's to help you strategize. You need to find who's to help you document. I've had conversations with various members of my team about concepts and ideas, and it's just us shooting a breeze. No notes, no agenda, no nothing. Leave that conversation, and I'm journaling ideas, just thinking, oh man, I was inspired by this, or when this conversation took place, or when this person said this, or whatever the case may be. You got to find the who's that can help you throughout the journey, on top of finding new who's who can specialize in doing a thing for you that can definitely speed up results. Had a conversation with a potential client recently, got a call. They're looking for ABC, and I'm listening to them. I'm saying, okay, yeah, I think we can do that. And I'm listening to it, and what started out as a quick call turned into an intake assessment of hearing what they're looking for, hearing the needs, and they're trying to double, if not triple, their revenue. They see the opportunity. They're trying to compress the timeline of decision making so that they can produce more outcomes for the business, and they're looking to me to develop a custom tool for them to help do that. And I'm saying, yeah, we can do that. And so I'm running through, going through the conversation, asking questions that, again, impromptu, just off the cuff. But because they viewed me and our company as a who, the trust was, and we'll see if we get this project, but the trust was that if I call Dr. Clark and I just run this idea by him, the trust is he's the who that I think can help me solve a problem. There's always going to be a who that can solve what seems to be a complex problem to you in just a matter of moments. What did we do? Well, in a matter of moments, did the interview, gave some ideas and solutions, told him how we can do it, and then a few moments later sent him a proposal of what that looks like and how we can make it happen and how we can help solve that problem, how we can be a part of his team so that we can help him achieve his goals. It's the same way in your business, that instead of you trying to do it all by yourself, my friends, I want to challenge you. I want to encourage you to find who's. Now, you may say, I can't afford a who. I'm going to tell you, I'll give you a couple of solutions, but let me just lead with this, that not every who costs money. Sometimes it's just being a good friend, and because you're a good friend and you know how to listen and you know how to engage as a friend, you can realize that there are people in your ecosystem, in your circle, who have different skills and abilities that when you call upon them, it's just a phone call. The next thing you could do, you may take your friend or you can take a stranger out to a cup of coffee. Been teaching this for years. Coffee is the cheapest date that you can have. Is the type of date where you can get to know somebody, learn about them, and spend an hour and don't have to spend 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 100 bucks on a dinner or a lunch to get to woo them or to get to know them. Just a cup of coffee and sometimes a blueberry muffin. Toasted with some butter, by the way, right? Just a cup of coffee can change things. But what happens during a cup of coffee? The same thing that happens during a lunch or a dinner. You let them know why you took them out, and you just want to get to know them. You want to kind of just understand their story and maybe pick their brain. I got to tell you, from my experience, a 60-minute coffee has yielded enormous outcomes and results. Yes, I'm talking about revenue. I'm also talking about production. I'm also talking about results. I'm also talking about relationships. I'm also talking about connections. I'm also talking about referrals, ideas. All types of results have come from just simply having coffee. So we went from being a good friend and understanding who's in your circle already. Pull out your phone, understand and create a matrix of what skills your friends have. So that's free. We went from free to a $3 cup of coffee at your local coffee shop. It doesn't have to be the major chains. It could be, or it could be a mom and pop coffee shop in your community. From there, you could do a lunch or a dinner, whatever's appropriate. So we're escalating costs. Now, if you don't have the capacity for that, or that's not what you need, and you just need to hire somebody right then and there, platforms like Fiverr, platforms like Upwork can help you. Platforms like onlinejobs.ph, where you can find talent and skills, put out a job description, and get what you need almost instantaneously, right? And you can get all types of resumes, do your reviews, do your interviews, hire, and pay out. Set your budget, and then you go accordingly. Maybe you want to step it up and hire somebody off of the open market and hire an employee, or you can find go to a networking event and hire SMEs or SMEs, subject matter experts, who are good at a thing. Pay them a fee, negotiate what the fee is, get the thing done in days, weeks, months. But what you are paying for is speed, accuracy, consistency, and results. That's what you're paying for. They've already done the strategy because they've invested their career in doing this thing. They already have relationships enough where they've produced enough results for the people that they work for. But what you're paying for, of the 3 strategies we teach, strategy, performance, relationships, you're paying for performance. And quite frankly, if I might be dangerous and say you're paying for all 3, this is what you're paying for, depending on how far you go up the ladder. The lower the ladder, you may just be paying for one of the 3, but the higher you go up, particularly if you're dealing with speeds or you got investors or partners involved, you're paying for all 3: strategy, performance, and relationships. How can we partner together financially to get this result? Well, I'm going to have to pull on your strategy, performance, and relationships. If you ever watched Shark Tank, And when the sharks say, well, yeah, I'll give you X hundred thousands of dollars for XYZ%, and everybody cringes, or the business owner cringes, they don't realize what they're paying for. They're paying for strategy, performance, and relationships that are not just related to that stage, but relationships and strategy and performance that's related to the US, and in many cases, global connections at all three levels. So what is that worth to you? You want to hold on to a couple of points in your business and get no results, or do you want to let go of a few points, get the cash, and then get the outcomes you're looking for? The who's can make a difference in your business. Yeah. And if you can broaden the pot, if you can broaden the source from which you're drawn from, and your who's can help you get there, you're going to see the results you're looking for. So how do we get things done? Because we're talking about team delegation and freedom. Number one, you got to imagine. Number two, strategize. Number three, document. Number four, find the who's. Number five, you got to delegate. This is where we're talking about team delegation and freedom. You got to delegate. Once you identify the people who you can trust to do a thing, let them do their thing. Now, I want to share something with you, particularly if you're in these early stages or young stages in your business, and it could be in years or in revenue. One of the things you got to be okay with is letting go. I am constantly challenged by certain members of my team who are who want to check in, and they mean well. Like they absolutely mean well, but they want to check in and they want to get my opinion on things. What I have gotten really good at is turning it around and saying, appreciate the question. What do you think? What do you think of the outcomes? What do you think we should consider? What do you think I should think about? What do you think I need to know to help me make a decision? Because the reality is, you're the responsible party. You're the one that I'm paying. You're the one that I'm compensating. You're the one that's been hired to focus on X. So what's the result? What's the outcome? What is it that you're trying to achieve? And why are you asking my opinion when you have a lot more information about this than I do? My friends, you got to learn to delegate. You got to learn to let go. You got to learn to trust. Now, if you're one of those people where you got to have things done your way, this is going to be very hard for you, if not impossible for you. It's not impossible to do, but it may be impossible or difficult for you because of how you're wired. But if you want to get more done, if you want to see this last step of how to get things done, which is freedom, you got to delegate, friends. You got to. We spent the time building a team, but we won't delegate to them at all. We won't allow them to do what they have been hired to do. Here's a tip for some of you to help you do this. One of the ways to make sure things get done as close, and I'm using my language intentionally, as close as you would like for it to get done, you got to document the SOPs, standard operating procedures of how you do things and how things get done step by step. And what ends up happening, if you document it, you will see more consistent results. Things will never be 100% the way you want it done. But here's the beauty. When you document the steps, unless for the sake of argument, people achieve 80%, 60%, 40% of the results that you would achieve on your own, just think about the fact that that 40% are outcomes and improvements that we have achieved as a team because I've delegated. Now, we've achieved this as a team that I didn't have to overextend myself on. Now, I need to work on this person getting from 40 to 50, 50 to 60, 60 to 80, 80 to 99, because they're never going to be 100%, because I'm me, and there's only one me. But I can work on that. And as you're delegating, you're no longer doing your job and the job the person has been hired to do, particularly if it's repetitive. In other cases, when you're hiring an SME and you have a way of doing things, it's kind of a defeatist approach, in that the SME who already knows the outcome you want may know a much more better and efficient way to get that thing done. But if you insist on doing it your way, you're going to lose the project, you're going to lose the customer, you're going to lose your SME, because the insisting on your own way is really for ego and pride. It's not about what's best for the customer, the project, or the situation. So you're going to have to work on letting go, because that SME may have a direct route to get to the outcome, whereas you're just used to going this way because that's how you've been doing it for so many years. Well, what's the purpose of hiring a SME if they know the fastest way to get from point A to point B is this straight line? You may have to make one left, right? But you still have a straight line compared to your way. It takes too long. Delegation is something you got to work on. I quote this book often, and I think this book is definitely worth repeating and sharing again with you. It's the book called Who Not How. You got to read that book. You got to learn how to delegate. So how can you get things done? Well, we talked about building a team. We talked about delegation. And here's the last part of this particular video, freedom. Freedom. Where does freedom come in? Well, by repeating this process over and over and over again, right? Imagining, strategizing, documenting, finding who's, delegating, and repeat. Because now the freedom is not for you to be free to do nothing and kick your feet up and do nothing. You're an entrepreneur. You're a creator. You're a leader. You are the CEO. You're the executive chairman. You're the one who is the initiator of all this stuff. And once you become that person or you start to live that life, it's not something that just turns off. That's who you are at your core. So you're never going to be somebody sitting down chilling. You're always going to be on the go, thinking, creating, doing, and repeating the process. Your best and highest self shows up when you're at the best of imagining, at the best of strategizing, at the best of documenting, at the best of finding who's, at the best of delegating. And then repeating that process, not getting too deep into the weeds, not getting too stuck in who shot John, who's gossiping about Mary, not getting into the weeds of things that really do not matter. Rather, I am focusing on vision casting, creating, imagining, strategizing, documenting, finding the right people to be on the team, and delegating and repeating the process for the next product, the next system, the next tool, the next service, the next iteration, the next growth, the next whatever I'm imagining. Team delegation freedom. Now, this is something that I think is relevant and that can resonate with you, whether you're running a big business, small business, medium-sized business. This is not something that's esoteric, where it's out of reach for the average Joe. No, I think this is something that you can actually do right now. With the size of your business, is something you can do right now. I want to challenge you to work on this. I want to challenge you to address this. I want to challenge you to shift this in the way that you're operating. And I believe that as you're working on this slowly but surely, step by step, little by little, you start to see the results you're looking for. Hope you find this helpful. Like, subscribe, and share. See you guys next time. Bye, everybody.